This is a short one like me. Dudes with Brews on the Porch presents Michael Brews.
Dude. Craft Brews and Casual Conversations. Joined with me from 180 Sisterhood Productions, we got Rebeka, Herron, and Trish, Rainone. Did I mess it up? I got it. All right. Very, like I said, like one time I called, I think I said to somebody, his last name was Johnson. I called him Jackson. And it was just, it's usually not good with the last names. But thanks for hanging out.
I do that all the time, but with boyfriends, so it's very awkward.
So, fellow podcasters, stand-up comedians, writers, actors, producers, you kind of do it all.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the 180 Sisterhood Productions and kind of where it all started.
That's a good question. We had just wrapped filming a web series here in Sault Ste. Marie, and we got along so well on the shoot that we were like, oh man, I really want to come back here and make more things. And Trish is from the Sioux, and so kind of got talking and decided, let's just form a company and make it.
That's awesome. And that was with My Roommate's an Escort that you wrapped up?
Yeah, season 2.
Season 2.
We shot in my hometown, and shortly after we started the company 180 Sisterhood, and then decided that we would focus on building up the film community in my hometown. We had both been living in Toronto and decided, you know what, I think it's time to go up somewhere a little bit smaller and build up the community up there where there's so many resources, so many people who are enthusiastic about it. There's grants available to us to shoot up here, and ultimately it's just a great place, and it's beautiful, and it gets the 4 seasons, so we thought that's perfect for filming.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, we in Wisconsin we like to experience the 4 seasons in 1 week.
Oh, we have that too. It was oddly very warm this November, and now there's ice pellets out there, so
yeah, like it snowed on my birthday. November 1st.
And then I think on my birthday, November 12th, it was actually quite mild.
Yeah. We kind of have the same thing. It's snowing pretty good right now. And I mean, last week, I think we had days that were in the 70s. So it's an identity crisis of a state.
It really is. You don't know you have to bring a gym bag anytime you leave the house. We all look like serial killers, but we really just have all of our outfit options in our bag.
Yeah. Or just like me, I'm just like ultimately always layering. So like I'll have like, 3 times of pants on, and then I like throughout the day just like take them off or put them all back on or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Go to bed with 2 layers of socks, wake up naked.
That's right. Nothing wrong with being prepared. That's for sure. So filming in like a hometown area, kind of what's that like? Does it get a lot of attention? Does it kind of do you walk into the cafe and they're just like, oh, there's that filmmaking person? Or,
that does happen.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of people write their phone numbers down and give them to us. And I've had a couple of people. Everyone's really supportive and they watch what's happening, and the newspapers have been really great and they do stories. So it is very much a community effort. Everybody's famous in a small town kind of thing, whereas in Toronto,
that's cool.
Or when I visited Los Angeles and places like that, the bigger cities, or Vancouver, where Rebeka's from, I don't know, I just get pushed around on the sidewalks, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Nice for a change to have people excited.
It's nice to have a voice and then like share the passion that we have for filmmaking here, and there is a film community here and it's growing, and the college has done a lot of good in that way too, because they have a film program and it's just grown, I think, since you were left.
Yeah, when I left, it was just maybe in the first year. So I took a night class, and then that was about a decade ago. So before that, there wasn't much of a film community here. So the college really, as Rebeka said, it's really done a lot for our
great.
community.
Yeah, there's been, I live in kind of a smaller, I guess you could say a smaller city. I'm in Wisconsin. I'm probably about we're an hour north of Milwaukee. So that's like the big city. But there's been people that have tried to do creative stuff and really like embrace the arts, but the community doesn't seem to want to be a part of it. And it's disappointing to see. And that's good to hear that you're supported and that they're excited about it, and that there's actually a community to build on that, because arts are, unfortunately something that get kind of thrown to the wayside, and it's very disappointing. Even like doing something like this podcast, I'll give people stickers, and some people are aware of it, not so much in my community, but more in the state, I guess. But like even getting my mom to listen to this is difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
Moms can be our biggest critics, though.
Yeah.
I think she has more troubles navigating on how to actually listen to a podcast on her phone.
Yes.
So
if I told my mom I had a podcast, she'd be like, is that a Facebook or is that a video? Or what do you mean a podcast exactly?
Yeah.
Right. And you both of you have a couple of podcasts. So you have the Drunk Read-Throughs. Trish, you have Talking to My Selfie. And Rebeka, I believe you have a couple other ones as well. How do you incorporate? Sorry, my dog's whining. How do you kind of balance all that between doing the podcast stuff and creating content for your production company? Because I alone have difficulties working my full-time job and even trying to balance doing an episode of this. It's hard.
It's called You Never Sleep.
Yeah. I like my sleep though. I get really grumpy come 11 o'clock p.m.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I need
send
sleep.
her home.
I'm like, okay, it's 11. I gotta go. I'm like, this is bugging me. I'm out of here because we start our workday at 9 a.m. So we both have full-time jobs. Rebeka's in animation, and I'm helping out a family business on top of running, like you said, our production company, which is also very busy right now. We're working on a commercial. So we have a lot going on. A Sioux Film Festival coming up this weekend. But really what it comes down to is it is really hard to find the time, especially if we're coordinating like this with adding guests to the show. So what we do is we sit, we write our grants. We have so many grant applications and all of these things going on. We're juggling an upcoming feature film, rom-com that we're going to be shooting up here early in the new year. COVID reliant, depending on, what the situation is. But what we basically do is take a break from all the boring stuff. And we're like, okay, let's record an episode.
Yeah.
And then we pour a drink and then we have tons of fun.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the to-do list.
Yeah.
So we just squeeze it in.
Yeah, it's a balance, right? We have days where we're like, here is our giant to-do list, that has to get done tomorrow. And then there's things where it's like, oh man, I have tomorrow off. You do too? Amazing. We're in luck. We actually have something where we're not booked. Let's just shoot a whole bunch of podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So luckily we're not on a schedule where we promise we'll have one out on this day or at this time every week. We just kind of willy-nilly release them when we can.
That's pretty much what I do too. I try at least once a week, and for a while it's like, okay, we're consistently putting them out on Monday, and then the next week it's not until Friday, and it's just it is a hard balance. And I think a lot of people just think it's pretty easy to do. And I mean, in your situations, I don't really know how you do it because I can barely keep track of the few tasks that I have to do every day. So kudos to you.
And kudos to you as well. I do think that I listen to a lot of podcasts when I'm doing just any sort of filing or kind of less tasks or cleaning tasks where you don't really need to be fully engaged. I listen to podcasts, and I do think that even if an episode, I wouldn't notice if I'm a big fan of something, if an episode doesn't come out every Monday, I just go back and re-listen to older episodes. And I think that if you're really a fan of a podcast, you'll just listen whenever. And I don't think it's too important to have one out every single Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice. If you can,
ideally.
You're lucky if you can do that. But I mean, everybody's got so much on the go that I feel and we're consuming so much media content, podcasts or whatever, that, there's always something. If, that podcast's not out this week, that's fine. I can listen to something else.
Definitely.
And you'll always go back to it because you subscribe. So,
So what's your experience been with, so having the podcast and having, a YouTube series and working on these films, kind of I guess people kind of like more or less get to know you through, I would imagine, a podcast more than some of they're fans of your work, but if they really want to get to know you, they're digesting more podcasts. Are you experiencing people approaching you and talking to you about podcasts, or more about the projects that you've put out? As far
I
as
think
like
a
media.
combination actually, because
both.
we, with like Drunk Read-Throughs, our podcast, we are pretty open a lot, and we will, because girls getting tipsy reading scripts,
Yeah.
and it leaves some room for us to like just to have break out into random chatter about our lives or something weird that happened to us that relates to the script or doesn't even relate to the script. So I feel like that podcast, we've got a lot of people reaching out to us and sending in their scripts. For us to read as well. Or, a lot of times we'll have read someone's script and ask them questions during our like podcast reading. And then they'll send us answers in an email later. And then we'll usually follow up in the next episode and talking about their answers. So it's been kind of fun that way. On that podcast, I think we've been a lot more open. Whereas like things like your dating stories is more like we're just reading like a story out and
it's also anonymous, whereas we're saying who the script writers are. So it's kind of like we bring up their name throughout, and then like Rebeka said, they'll write in some answers and then we can bring it up in the next episode. But the Your Dating Stories podcast, it's all anonymous dating stories that have been written in. And I was just doing it by myself in March. I started it as a COVID isolation project. And now that, Rebeka and I are seeing each other in person again, in our city, luckily there's apparently one case. So
that's awesome.
We're in a different level there's different levels here in Canada of, lockdowns. So our city isn't on lockdown. It's just restricted to, we're not supposed to see more than
our bubble.
You're supposed to be in a bubble and not see have more than 10 people. And if you see other people that aren't in your bubble, you wear masks and all that. So now that we're in the same room and in the same city, we're going to start doing Your Dating Stories as a co-host podcast. And I think that'll bring some new life to it, because I think it's always more fun to have some co-hosts rather than to just be in a room by yourself. And then laughing at myself. I did by myself as well, just because I was doing online comedy. So I wanted to test out all of my comedy sets out loud. So I would record them. And then I'm like, okay, I have these recordings. I might as well slap them out there in the podcast universe.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. And that's something too I wanted to touch on is like kind of your writing process and your approach to stand-up comedy. My co-host Rob, that is usually on the show with me, he's not with me right now, obviously, but he's always like looking at people.
Who was that guy standing over your shoulder then?
Oh, that was actually my fiance. Her name's Carissa. But
no, he's still there. He's got a beard.
He's got a beard.
Oh, it must be a ghost.
Oh yeah, it might be.
The ghost of Rob.
Fun fact: I'm pretty sure the person who lived here before did die, possibly in house. So.
Oh, creepy. I also listen to a lot of like haunted or true crime podcasts.
Yes, she does. She pretty much comes over to my house and says, hey, I listened to this or watch this. And now she's like trying to terrify me and say that my house is haunted.
It might
because
be.
my house is 135 years old. So
that was like one thing I wanted to with, because I've always talked about attempting stand-up. I've never done it. I've had ideas, and one of my ideas was like how to present or maybe do it like as like a sketch. Having like, there's Casper the Friendly Ghost. I want just like an inconvenient ghost, like a ghost that like turns your heat on too high, or just minor inconveniences.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think that would be funny.
Really funny.
Was your process with that? Like with you have an idea, how do you write it down? How do you process it and then get it ready to present it in either like a stand-up format or a film format?
I like it because when I'm doing it, I feel like your brain just starts seeing everything that's happening to you situationally as or around you as comedy. So I feel like when I'm doing these shows, I just start to see everything around me as, okay, that could be material, that could be material. So the material just kind of comes to you. And I try to do all situational comedy kind of making fun of myself and the antics that I got into, just so I'm not really making fun of too many other people and hurting people through comedy, because I want to make people laugh, not be pissed off. So it's a lot of situational comedy that I hope others can relate to. And I really just find the inspiration from whatever's happening around me. And I find once you start writing and writing things down, you'll find these transitions where, okay, then from this, I can go on to talk about this, and then I can go on to talk about this. And sometimes as you're writing, more things that you saw throughout your week will just come up. So I don't know. I think a lot of my comedy is just based on observations of things around me. And I think that's a really great place to start, because there is a lot of just weird stuff happening in life if you just open your eyes to it. So that's the goal. And then sometimes I would tell like couple or dating like stories or humor or there's a lot of like dating stuff or relationship stuff, and then also just situational stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's the best way to do it, because it's to pull from experience rather than, I mean, I'm like I said, I've never done it, so I don't really know. But I think it's better to pull into an experience from an experience than to create something out of thin air.
And kind of make fun of yourself a little bit. And I think people like that. They love self-deprecating humor. Yeah, for the most part. I think, I don't really know, because a lot of the stand-up shows online, they had everyone muted.
Sure.
So, or the other comics, some of them were unmuted, but a lot of them were muted. And then the audience, where it's streaming, they're not connected to the video. They can just watch the stream. So you don't really know if people are laughing. So I might be extremely unfunny.
But you performed like live comedy before COVID, so people laughed. Yeah.
So
that's good.
Sometimes.
What's the comedy scene like there? Is it pretty booming, or is it kind of on the rise?
We have to create one.
Yeah, we are attempting to create one here. A couple of the bar owners said, let's wait till, things ease up with COVID. So it's kind of a weird time to try to create. There was a stand-up comedian coming in from Toronto to perform a couple weekends ago, but it got canceled. So we're just kind of trying to, I think Rebeka and I are both of the thinking that if something doesn't exist, you create it. So we're trying to get a stand-up community rolling here in Sault Ste. Marie at the local brewery, hopefully at some point. Yeah, that's awesome. The plan. Saturday nights comedy.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
will happen once we can all hang out.
There's good comedians from Canada. I mean,
so many funny people and so many funny shows like Schitt's Creek. Schitt's Creek and Kim's Convenience and Letterkenny, Working Moms is super funny. We have a lot of great content up here and a lot of really funny people. So,
for sure. Yeah, that's great. I hope it works out. Maybe you could get like what is it, like, I think probably the biggest Canadian comedians in the States that I can think of is Ian Bagg or Tom Green, pretty much.
Tom Green. Yeah. Daddy, would you like some sausage? Daddy, would you like some sausage?
Well, Jim Carrey is Canadian.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Mike Myers.
Yeah, from Wayne's World.
Yeah, you're right, yeah. Mike Myers.
Not the killer Mike Myers.
Not that one.
Yeah, oddly enough, Robin and I were just talking about that in the last podcast episode. Mike Myers, both the killer and the actor. So,
although he was in So I Married an Axe Murderer,
right?
There's a bit of a serial killer connection there. Yeah. He's attracted to serial killers. His character was.
Have you've done a couple stuff in horror genre? Have you done anything like that?
Yeah. We are working on producing a horror film that a couple of horror films, like a bunch of horror films, and have been applying for funding and all that sort of thing. The next one we're shooting is a rom-com. But we're also involved in horror. And I was in one called The Void. I had a small role throughout as this dead wife who's kind of haunting, in a white lacy dress, lots of blood at some points. So some people get really excited about that because that's a little fan favorite. Like some people geek out over The Void. So that was a really cool one to be a part of because there were real monsters on set.
And that was filmed here?
That was filmed here, yeah. And then One Night Stand, which is now on Amazon Prime in the US. It's a thriller. So I'm in that. Just came out recently.
Sorry.
What else?
My life.
It's all good.
And that's distributed through Parallel Universe Pictures, one of
Nice.
Rebeka's other companies. That's on Prime Video. What else? I don't know. Quite a few horror films. I really like horror. They're a lot of fun.
I like
Horror
to
and
consume
comedy.
it. Yeah, I'd like to be. I've always said if I'm ever in a horror movie, I just want to be the guy that gets killed in the beginning. I want
Ah,
Good to know. We'll let you. Maybe we'll write you a part in our next one.
yeah. Oh, we could do one over Zoom, and then you could play. You wouldn't even have to come up here.
And then Rob could kill you.
That's great. I'm sure there's been times where Rob wants to kill me, so that would work out very well. Can you talk about the rom-com coming up a little bit, or is that on the down low?
It's a little
bit on the
Okay.
deal right now. It just we're still in packaging phase, so can't say too much about it.
Gotcha.
But we did get some nice grant money, so
Good.
Our plan is to shoot next spring here. So
when there's still snow, beginning of spring, because we
Yeah.
have a long winter.
yeah,
So-
and then hopefully COVID will have
I hope so.
take the nosedive and let us all live again.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad in Wisconsin, the COVID stuff. We're like one of the worst states in the country right now, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So it's and like I said, I don't. He might have gone in his room, but my son was back there, not in school because of COVID. So it's
Right,
Yeah.
because if there's any sort of symptoms now,
right.
you have to be extra cautious and stay home.
Yeah, it's been pretty stressful, and you just trying to balance life and everything. Like even with creators, a lot of things have been put on hold, and I can't imagine kind of if you don't have other means of incomes like another job or a full-time job or something like that. I can't imagine how some of these people are doing it, and I really feel for them. And yeah,
Mhm.
it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky here in Canada that there is some like employment dollars that are been giving out to people so that people can pay their rent and have some food on the table.
Yeah.
Not like a lot of money, but it has been helping a lot of creators that are stuck in places or without jobs. And
Yeah.
which
Unfortunately, we don't have that too much in the States.
I
So.
know.
Yeah, I don't know what some people are doing. I feel like it's a really hard year for a lot of people, and it's kind of scary. So hopefully we can get back to, because I know once people aren't working as much, like I know for me as a creative, as soon as I'm not being creative, then I don't know. I don't really find a lot of joy in life unless I have a creative outlet. So I guess that's kind of why the podcasting really came into play this spring. And now we're just continuing with it because it really is such a great outlet. And if anyone's listening and they do want to start their own podcast, I'd be happy to give advice because I really do think it's something that helps fulfill you and that's still tangible to do, and you can do it from home. And I really do think anyone can do it, and everyone has something interesting to talk about. So if you just pick something you're passionate about and start one up, I think it's a great outlet for people during this time, just for your mental health and for just to feel like you're just to still create when you can't go out there and be surrounded by all these people and maybe do what you were doing before.
I mean, like a lot of my friends have took up gardening.
Oh, nice.
That's like one of my friends, she has like a jungle at her house. Like she has like over 80 plants now.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, just be careful you don't become hoarder later because but like that's like the hobby that she started since COVID was gardening. And I think that's still cool. Like I think even just like finding new passions or new hobbies or rekindling old ones from like your youth that you like forgot about, or you're just like, oh, I'm an adult now, like whatever. But I think it's important to have some kind of creative outlet.
Coloring books.
Yeah,
painting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I unfortunately I've been probably the busiest I've ever been in my life, at least in the last 7 years, that I can't figure out any other hobbies besides this. So, outside of like drinking beer and I try to go running. That's taken a little bit of a pause lately, but I'm back in school, and it's even trying to attempt that in a COVID world is kind of weird. So
oh yeah,
it's all online and
I'm not
I
used
was
to
gonna
that.
take some classes actually, and then COVID happened. I was like, nope,
Yeah,
not this year.
yeah, it's weird. It's I don't the online format is weird because I just have never done it. And even when I was in my undergraduate program, I made it a point to never take an online class because as much as of millennials I am, I'm just like this computer stuff. I don't know. I don't necessarily like it, but
yeah, I feel like too, like the old school of learning, you actually retain more information. Whereas I find like when I'm learning stuff online, like I get it, but then I forget it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty much teaching myself, but hey, whatever. We'll see what happens at the end.
Yeah.
As long as
and I think it's a good time to, I don't know, to be studying though. It's a good time to kind of
work on oneself.
Yeah, and kind of reset and maybe think about trying new things or taking on different avenues. So
yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, like, I think I'm trying to figure out part of like who I really am and really what I want to do when I grow up. I'm 30, but it's been I've tried a couple of different things, and I have 2 kids. I had my daughter when I was in high school, so it's just been a lot of growing up really quick. So it's just through the process of life, just trying to get an understanding of myself. And I think podcasting, like you said, is a good way to do it. Whether it's having a few drinks and reading some scripts, or just having a conversation with people. I think it helps get some sort of energy and stuff out there. So it's really a good time, especially now with if you have a cell phone, you can make a podcast. So I agree we should suggest people to do that if they.
Well, and I think too, like like COVID has put a lot of things into perspective for people, where it's like, I think we're now realizing how important it is to be passionate about what you do. And that's not to say that we don't need like grocery store clerks and banks and, and things like that. But finding passion in what you're working on is so important. And having that outlet, I think, is so important. And especially like now when we're all trapped inside our homes, and if we're like in lockdown, that's even worse. Like I can't imagine being in lockdown right now. And a lot of my friends are.
Yeah, our friends in Toronto they're back on lockdown.
Yeah.
And it's my heart goes out to them because that's not a good place to be in.
No, especially in winter, right? Like like seasonal depression plus lockdown, that just, I don't know, to me that just insane.
And even though things aren't shut down here, we're seeing a lot of, you're starting to see businesses shutting down for good. And that's really sad to see too. Yeah. So even if things are open a little bit more freely, it's still not, what it used to be. So it is a hard time for everyone.
And so like, I think that's the other thing too, is like taking time for yourself to like figure out what you want in life is so important right now, because this COVID pandemic has literally changed the whole game of the world. And so now I feel like a lot of people will come out of this going, oh no, actually, I don't like my job and I found a new job, or I'm going down a different road because COVID taught me something about myself that I didn't know. And, or I'm tired of, just working the 9-to-5 job because to pay the bills, but maybe I found a new way to do that.
Right.
Which I think is pretty cool to see, like a shift in the like human like consensus and consciousness right now that's happening. Like
we're realizing we're not invincible, and that life as we know it isn't really the be all end all, or can be taken away at any moment. So we have to really everyone's getting, I find humans are very resilient and getting really thrifty and creative, and that's the one plus side.
Yeah, and I actually switched jobs like in the heat of this quarantine and lockdown stuff in Mars State. Yeah, it was a bad time kind of, because I put my 2 weeks in. Things at my previous employer were not going well. I was in like a management spot, and like I was one of 7 managers that chose to leave. So obviously there was
there was an issue.
Yeah, there was an issue, but so I put my 2 weeks in. I worked my 1 week, and then I test positive for COVID. So that I had to quarantine at home for 2 weeks and stay at home for 2 weeks. So I was technically unemployed for 1 week, and that's still, I mean, thankfully I was in a good enough position, but because I still haven't received any unemployment or anything like that. But
Wow.
to kind of piggyback on what you were saying is, I chose to do that because I got accepted to go to, into a graduate program for something that I've wanted to do since I originally went to school, but I just couldn't because I was a full-time dad, a full-time worker, and all that stuff too. So I had to switch my major around. And even now I'm in a position where I just, I kind of punch the clock and do my job and go home. But hopefully it leads to something where I can actually wake up and feel like I'm not only making a difference for myself or in my family, but for maybe somebody else. And instead of, I work at a cheese factory right now, so it's.
I'm going to ask if Wisconsin was really how the cheese is there.
I've always wanted to go because cheese.
Cheese is delicious. It's a big deal in Wisconsin. We like the cheese.
We like the cheese. We like the cheese too.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of Italians in this city, so we have a lot of Italian-inspired cheeses.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, we Wisconsin. Unfortunately, and it's a blessing and a curse. We're kind of the beer state too, and a lot of people look at us like a bunch of drunken idiots, and there are a lot of drunken idiots in Wisconsin. So unfortunately, they give us a bad rep. But there's those of us who would just appreciate the golden nectar, But
there's a way to appreciate it.
Oh yeah,
everything is
sure.
balanced.
Yeah. So cheese. We're the cheese heads for if you watch football with the Packers and everything. I've watched.
Yep.
The cheese heads.
They were my favorite team. Just
Good.
saying.
Good.
Just saying.
They disappointed me on what day is it? Tuesday. On Sunday they really shit the bed. It was sad.
Yeah. My dad and I, when we were growing up, we would always have like our teams, and that there was this one year when like the Packers and I forget who it was. Maybe the Broncos or something, or
Super Bowl.
No, it was a Tampa and Packers game, and I was like, I'm gonna beat your ass. Sure enough, we won.
Yeah.
What you're saying is they cut the cheese to an extreme.
We sure do.
Remember when we used to say that in elementary school? Did you guys say that? Cut
Yes,
the cheese?
yes.
Like, who cut the cheese?
Also, I find it so weird how like when we were kids, we all grew up with the same sayings.
Mm-hmm.
Like
But
that.
we didn't have social
But we
media.
didn't have social media or the internet.
Yeah,
like,
how did
That's
it
true.
How did we spread those things around? I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe like TV shows we were watching. I don't know.
Maybe.
Okay, I have a really important question
Yeah.
for you. Did you sing in elementary school or grade school? We call it elementary in Ontario. Did you sing a Pizza Hut,
No.
Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut,
No, just you weirdos.
McDonald's,
Just you
McDonald's,
weirdos.
Kentucky
That was
Fried
in like
Chicken.
the only time I ever heard that was from that movie Super Size Me, and I was like, I didn't.
Okay, so that's where my teachers were. Well, I guess the song came out before Super Size Me, so it must have been a thing if it's in Super Size Me.
It must
I
have
think
been.
your school was just like sponsored by all those places. So that's how you learned that.
Oddly enough, the Super Size Me came to my town because we have this guy named Don Gorski. He has a world record for eating the most Big Macs. He eats like 2 or 3 every day. He freezes them too, so when he can't get to McDonald's, he's got some in his freezer. He's at like 30,000 in his life.
I just want to know,
How is he not dead?
Yeah.
He's actually surprisingly in decent shape. I think that's really all he eats, and then he just walks everywhere.
the Big Mac diet. It's all about balance. Walk, eat a Big Mac. Walk, eat a Big Mac. Walk, eat a Big Mac.
But lettuce is not enough. Does he take vitamins? I really need
I don't
to
know.
I really hope he's taking some green vitamins or throwing in a green smoothie here and there.
Yeah.
He did an episode of the George Lopez talk show when George Lopez had a late night show. He was on one of the episodes as a guest, which is just weird. That's how exciting our town is we got the Big Mac guy.
I mean, that's still pretty
exciting.
cool.
Yeah.
We have Roberta Bondar. She's one of the first. She is the first female, I believe, to go into space.
Mhm.
Oh,
So, I
see,
mean,
that's big accomplishments all around.
Big Mac guy, a lot better. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
And Wayne Gretzky went to same high school I went to.
Oh, that's awesome.
Years apart.
Yeah.
My
Not bad.
favorite person from Vancouver would be Nardward, Human Serviette. You ever?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
the best.
I mean, like, there's a lot of people from BC, like Ryan Reynolds, Keanu,
Oh yeah, Keanu. Ooh.
Carrie Ann Moss.
Keanu Reeves. That's the only Keanu I know.
that is the Keanu I'm talking about. Keanu Reeves.
Apparently, he's such a nice guy. My aunt says he used to serve her pizza back when he was, 19.
Oh, really?
He was working in a pizza shop, and she would go and get her and her husband, my aunt and uncle, would get their weekly Friday night pizza. He would serve it, and he was super friendly even back then. So.
Well, yeah.
Everyone has, if you're Canadian, you have a Keanu Reeves story.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's awesome. Like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, only here it's like 1 degree of Keanu Reeves.
Who's like one of your dream people you'd want to work with?
They're all dead.
They're all dead?
All the people that I would want to work with are all dead people now, because I loved like old classic Hollywood. Mm-hmm. So like Katharine Hepburn and like Spencer Tracy and like Clark Gable and Cary Grant, those, like Elizabeth Taylor, those are all people I grew up like loving and obsessing over and watching like Turner Classic Movies all the time. Nice. I was that weird child. I had like a black and white TV in my room, and I only watched black and white TV. It's like so funny.
There's so many comedy people who I'd like to work with. Jason Bateman. Yeah. Cracks me up. And also, speaking of Ryan Reynolds, he's like the ultimate funny guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is. And all the funny women. There's so many funny women. So many. I really like Chelsea Handler. A lot of people find her abrasive.
I like Chelsea Handler a lot.
Yeah, she's honest, and she's standing up for a lot of political issues, mm-hmm. and she's really taken her platform and using it for good, in my opinion.
I think a lot of people, unfortunately, are intimidated by it.
Yeah,
which
I think that's
is
what
stupid,
it is.
But...
I think we were talking earlier today, actually, via text about like haters and how like
as soon as you do something good or you
have a platform or something, people are just going to start hating on you.
They hate you, and I feel like because there's certain people in the industry who, as soon as we're doing something, like they find out we're doing a feature or they find out about our film festival. I'll kind of get snarky comments here and there on my Instagram, and then they'll text me and they'll be like, I wanted to do that. And I'm like, great, you can still do it. There's always room for everyone. And there's something about telling somebody you want to do something and then doing it. If you're messaging me being like, hey, you're doing the thing I said I was going to do it. Right. Why aren't you doing it?
Or ask us, hey, how can I help?
How can I get involved? Yeah. And I think it's just kind of everyone in the business could be, everyone can be, there's a role for everyone.
Right.
Everyone can be producing, everyone can be creating. A writer, I just don't understand. Like, I would never write to a writer and say, hey, you're writing something. I said I was going to write something. It's like, hey, we can all do this. Like, you're doing a podcast. Damn you.
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted a podcast. We have a podcast. Right. What are you doing having a podcast? It's like, this is the way to do it in this industry. Get together. Collaborate. Say, how can I get involved in your podcast? It's awesome. And support other people. Mm-hmm. And I think there's something about, there's always the people who say they're going to do something, then there's the people who just do it.
Right.
So just do it.
Yeah. Like he says it every single time.
Just do it.
I don't know. Like, it's the same thing. Like, you asked us earlier, how did we start this company? We just did it.
Yeah, you just do it, and then you start to figure things out. And, just one day at a time, but have goals and chip away at them, and that turns into things.
And projects. It's definitely more helpful to have a partner,
Right.
Like,
oh, so much. Yeah. And you can also, Rebeka came in with a lot of grant experience, a lot of producing experience. I had gotten into producing because I was an actor who then was like, okay, well, this is boring being an actor and working at a restaurant. Why am I not getting more involved in film and making it all-encompassing in my life? So then I quit restaurants for good and was like, I'm going to be
film only.
Film only. I will even do a day as wardrobe or whatever. Like, I will do whatever to just, and from having that attitude, I ended up learning a lot about the behind the scenes. And now I'm still learning from teaming up with Rebeka and other people in the industry. And I think, if you don't have all the strengths, you team up with other people that might have strengths that you don't have. And then you learn from each other and learn together and grow together. And I think it's just really great to collaborate with other people. And a lot of people will reach out and say, I have an idea for a project. I don't know how to make it. Well, then team up with someone who does. Team up with a line producer or producer, and you can divvy up the things, and
Yeah.
not one person has to be good at everything or know everything, and that's the beauty of collaboration.
Yeah.
Right. And now, especially nowadays, you don't have to move to Los Angeles or Atlanta or New York or Chicago even. You can just do that stuff from right here, from where I'm sitting. You can be a part of that process, and whether it's a YouTube series or short film or even just a 10-minute sketch that you wrote or something like that. Yeah, you can definitely, and there's plenty of platforms to get in line with those people. So yeah, it's definitely good advice.
Yeah, and I think too the other fun thing is like, the internet has connected us so much over the years. Like, I spend a lot of my time not just like developing stuff within 180, but also working with other filmmakers across the country.
Right.
So we do a lot of like Zoom sessions where it's just like, hey, like here's my script, let's go over it, let's do a dev day, and we just like go through all of the beats in the story together, and we map things out, and and then I give my feedback, and they don't have to always take it, and then they go back and they start writing something, or I have a filmmaker in Vancouver that I work with a lot, and he shot a short film by himself during COVID, and he was like, as like a test for something that we're working on hopefully later. And he's been just sending me cuts and like scenes, edits, and like asking for feedback. And like, there are ways that you can still collaborate from abroad. Like, and that's the kind of fun thing I think we are lucky for in this COVID times, is that we have connections like this.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Even like with podcasting, when I originally started this, I was leaving. I used to do local radio for full time, but it obviously just didn't work out. And this was kind of just to fill a void for that. And then I never thought like that I would even be interviewing people. I thought it would just be me and a friend drinking some beer and kind of shooting the shit a little bit. But luckily enough, I've been lined up with some pretty awesome folks, and it's turned into something big. So really all it is just making a goal and setting out for it, because you really never know who you're gonna meet and how things are gonna go. So it's a pretty cool thing. I like it.
I love that about consuming podcasts as well. I was listening to one where you had a welder on, and I'm like, this is really interesting. It's so interesting to learn about different jobs and things that people do with their lives. Right.
Yeah, and everybody has something interesting about them that they can really like hone in and put out there and either inspire or inform or motivate somebody. So it's pretty cool, and I think you're on the good track of doing out some really awesome things, and you've already done a lot of awesome things. So good for you.
Cheers.
Yes. And we
did not have to go and work on this, getting prepped for this commercial and drive around town, we would definitely be drinking our favorite Northern Superior brew right now.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the coffee because I got to work as well, and I have to leave in an hour. So yeah, I don't know if they would be too fond of me.
So this is the anti-brew. We will all have a brew later.
Yes.
Yes.
If anyone wants to get in contact with you or see where your stuff is, how do they find you?
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at 180 Sisterhood.
And then from there, you can find our personal pages.
Yeah. And then all of our, podcasts and things and work and short films are kind of all shared on that.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Rebeka and Trish, I really appreciate you coming on and talking. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, great chatting with you
too. And next time we'll have to talk to Rob.
Yes, and we'll all have
him here.
Yes.
That's right.
Pew pew audio. Goodbye, everyone.